If you're an MMA fan or a pro wrestling fan, you know who my next guest is. Tom Lawlor, filthy Tom Lawlor, joining me here on the program. Tom, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. I mean, all things considered, things are looking good for me in life. I'm not going to complain when, a lot of people can. So good. 2 thumbs up.
Yes. Keeping busy, though. I was checking out the Instagram. You're doing a lot of, exercises and, weightlifting and things like that. So it's been good. But one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here is because you signed with PFL. I know their season's, a bit of a delay right now just with everything going on. But tell me how this all came together with you signing with them.
Yeah, actually, we had been kind of flirting with each other over the past couple of years. There were some former, front office personnel and executives that were with the UFC, who were with PFL, who had reached out and, extended a hand to shake in the past, but nothing had come of it. And, luckily, I was fortunate enough to be contacted once again and, be signed for this, the 2020 season of the PFL, which will become the 2021 season of the PFL. So it's a great chance. It's a great opportunity for me to end my career with a major organization. And that's exactly what my plan is to do, is to go balls to the wall when I have the chance to do so over the next year and, then end my career on a high note.
I like that. Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm sure once people realize that, you're back in the MMA game, were there other offers? Did you have other, organizations interested, or was it just, PFL was just the right fit?
Yeah, there was other organizations I talked to, but, either based on, what I was offered contractually, or just bad timing. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, because I've been doing professional wrestling, that takes up a lot of my time, and it's not always beneficial for me to fight, if I could subsequently get injured and be out for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, missing dates. So it wasn't really until the PFL came along that, I knew exactly what the dates of the fights would be. I knew that I could prepare for them, and I knew that I would have time to do so. And now I really have time to do so.
Right. Yeah. With everything going on, did the UFC try and re-sign you at all, or was that not even an option?
No,
not
even nothing from them.
Okay. And I'll mention one more promotion just because you mentioned the pro wrestling stuff. Was Ryzen something that was ever on the table? Just because the Japanese fans, they love pro wrestling. They love sort of the showmanship. And yeah, I mean, you have that in spades. You even had that in your UFC career as in terms of, being very outgoing with your personality. Yeah.
I mean, some people had talked, but I'm not really sure exactly how deep that stuff gets. I know myself from dealing with Japanese companies that it's a different process than it is, dealing with American promoters. It's a different culture. It's a different society. And, it's just different. So I know that there were talks, but like I said, I don't know how deep those talks get. Sometimes they're real close. Sometimes it's just, an olive branch being extended. So I wouldn't say that I was close to being over there, but.
And just one other thing sort of on the fight stuff. Daniel Rubenstein, you're with Ruby Sports. Yeah. How did that all come together with you signing with him?
I've actually known Danny since 2001, I think, when I was wrestling at a club in Florida, and he was there as well. I think he was doing an internship or something. And then randomly, I'd see him at MMA events over the years, like, hey, wait a minute, what the hell is this guy doing here? And then lo and behold, years later, he's, one of the top managers in the sport. So, it just so happens that he kind of moved out here to Vegas, almost around the same time that I did. And when all this stuff with the UFC went down, I kind of, I need to have a little bit of a change in direction. And, he's very willing. He understands my plight, my situation. And he's willing to work with me and not like pressure me. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would be the opposite. So
there you go. That's great. So let's talk PFL. Have you had a chance to glance at the roster? Is there sort of an ideal opponent you'd like to face in your debut, whenever that may be?
No, not whatsoever. I mean, honestly, I don't know how many people that they had announced mm-hmm. For the division, but I don't think it was even half of what the light heavyweight roster was going to be. I mean, if you're going to go out there, why not just get it done right off the bat and fight the champion? If I can. I know, like, there's been guys who said they wanted to fight me. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you want to fight the 37-year-old guy who hasn't fought in 2 years, who has been doing pro wrestling the whole time? Sure, that sounds like a great thing. So I'm expecting that I'm going to be called out a lot. I'm expecting a lot of people want their first fight to be against me, and that's absolutely fine with me. That's one of the things that it's going to motivate me more so than if I went in there as the favorite in this situation. So why not? I mean, if I had my choice, I'll just take the ultimate underdog role and fight Sorty. But I mean, I'm not in control of these things, so we'll see who else is in this division. I would love in the next year and a half or next year, about half a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to get so fat that I would be a heavyweight, but I don't think that's gonna happen. So.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't know how close you are with Chris Camozzi, because I know he's in the tournament. You guys are in the UFC at the same time. Is he someone that you'd want to fight, or would you kind of be like, I know you'll fight anyone, but it's obviously tougher if you have a relationship with someone?
No, I mean, we don't really have any sort of relationship that would hinder us. I'm 37 years old. Like I said, I'm here for myself. I really don't give a shit, what's going on in these other guys' lives. They're here doing it as a job just like I am. So, I mean, whatever personal feelings they have, they're out the window. I don't really each guy that I'm going to be scheduled to fight, I'm going to look at him the same way. You can't look at it from any sort of emotional standpoint. You have to look at this as a profession, as a job. What's going to be the best tactics that I can use to win and to mitigate his chances at stopping that or winning. So I honestly, like you said, I mean, you answered the question right off the bat. I really don't give a shit who I fight.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, obviously, because some fighters are a little bit different with that stuff. The $1 million, I know we're a ways away from that because, the season hasn't even started yet. But have you thought about what you do with the money? Is there something that I don't know, you've wanted to do with that type of money, or is it, is it crossed your mind?
I mean, honestly, I'd have to do the smart thing and just, invest it into real estate. Land isn't going anywhere. Prices in Vegas, even though we're in this situation, have remained pretty high. So I've got a family that I've got to look after. And, it's one of the things that I didn't do when I was younger. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you save. And as a fighter, what you make goes away very quickly. So it's even more important that you're able to save some of it. So I've got a house here with a mortgage that's really not too bad. So, I'm set up where, like, if I got that $1 million, I could retire for life, probably, and just, do whatever I wanted for the rest of my years on this planet, which really isn't that the dream.
Yes. Oh, it is. Yeah. Don't have to pay a mortgage. I'd love to do that too.
Coincidentally, I'd still be doing exactly what I'm doing now.
Right.
Even with that money, but I'd be able to do it for the rest of my life and never have to worry about what's going to happen in the future. And, I kind of like living the fighter lifestyle or the wrestler lifestyle where I get to compete. I get to be, the center of attention. I get to be, put on a pedestal, whether it's in the cage or in the ring. It gives me something to look forward to. It gives me short-term goals. And, I want that to continue. I want that to keep going. So this is my avenue to do so.
I want to talk about this USADA stuff quickly, just because, you did kind of talk about it there with the gap. And I mean, you really got screwed over. I think, there is sort of, I think if you look at most MMA fans are like, well, why did Tom get this suspension? And why did, say a Sean O'Malley get sort of a slap on the wrist with that? First question, did USADA ever apologize to you, or did you ever get a reason why you were given such a longer layoff than everyone else?
No, I mean, I guess it's just based off whatever the letter of the law was at the time. The thing that really was the kick in the pants, straight to the dong, was, being held under contract for almost the whole duration of the sentence by USADA. And then, I'm hitting up Mick Maynard begging for a fight for a few months and don't hear anything. And then, I get a message one day that I'm released. So I went from a position where, I sat out for 2 fucking years of my life of a career that I had, worked years to even get to this point. Right. Mm-hmm. I had that taken away from me, and it was demoralizing. It was one of the worst things that I've ever felt in my life. I was like depressed for years, and it, financially affected me as well. I went from a position where, I could make with a bonus, which, one out of every 3 of my fights in the UFC is a bonus, right? I could make $100,000. Well, now that's all taken from me, and I'm, just left out by the wayside. So there's, this is like a far-reaching thing that, I'd like to say I'm over it, but I'm not really over it. I mean, whenever it's brought up, it's quite apparent that the treatment of me is different than, especially the treatment of fighters now, and the treatment of some fighters who the UFC wanted to protect. I'm trying not to be like anti.
No. But look, I don't blame you. I mean, you had 2 years of your life sort of taken away from you, and it was a thing like you love fighting and you can't fight, and they're saying you can't come back, and then you see these other guys that have lesser sort of punishments and stuff. So understandable, absolutely.
I mean, honestly, it's like it didn't only just affect me in those ways, but I mean, the thing that I enjoyed, more so than anything else, like. That's the thing that betrayed me. That's the thing that hurt me the most, So it really sucked. Like I said, I don't want to make it like I don't want to badmouth the UFC because there's so many awesome people at the UFC, and really, I mean, the UFC over the past few months has been the best sports product, probably that's been on television. I mean, there's not much competition, but even compared to what you get now with the sports without crowds, UFC is kind of the one. And MMA, I mean, I should say MMA as a whole has kind of sustained, its ability to capture the viewing audience. So, I don't want to be like so anti-UFC because it's what got me into MMA in the first place, but there are some things that obviously, could be done better, that could be fixed. I think, when are people going to see this or hear this? Tomorrow, or by the time somebody reads this, we could have this class certification lawsuit done, and the fighters, could be employees or whatever the case may be. So there's so much stuff right now that's changing, and hopefully it's for the better.
I'm with you. Just one last thing on that. I was always curious about this. Could legally you sue USADA just because you have evidence of them, giving someone a certain case and then giving you a certain case in terms of the layoff and the suspension? Was there any sort of legal, advantage that you would have there, or no? Is that something you didn't even bother?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just think there's so much mismanagement with USADA. I mean, I can tell you like multiple instances in which it's just like behavior that I'm really baffled by. And it makes me question, the whole chain of command and everything that goes on. So, for instance, all right, at the UFC PI, okay, I don't know if it's still there, but they had set up a machine. USADA had set up a machine where you could go in and you could physically input where you're going to be. Okay. Just so happens I'm the first person there when they're setting it up. Oh, I just happen to be there. So Nowitzki and Forrest are there. So I come over and I say, I'll start using it. The technology's okay. It's not the best. It's not like the super, most advanced, but it's working. And then I was going on a tour of Europe with the military, okay, to visit bases as a fighter, as like a liaison. And I had to go to Kosovo, okay. Well, Kosovo doesn't even show up on the map for USADA. So I said, Jeff, what do I do here? He goes, just put you'll be in Europe. And I looked at him. I said, fucking suspended. I've already got whereabouts failures. You just want me to put that I'm in Europe? Oh, okay. Maybe you should go ahead and send him an email. Well, what the fuck? The first thing you told me was just put I'm in Europe. Clearly that's not the right thing. So just on every level, I ended up being baffled by the communication. USADA calls me and asks me to pay for the test of the B sample. And I told them financially, I don't think it even makes sense. And then they just go, okay, we'll cover it. What?
Yeah. That's really odd.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right. On a lighter note, you did reference the pro wrestling stuff. We're turning the tide here, Tom. And it's a tough subject, and I appreciate you being very honest with me. I mean, I know it's frustrating. It's like I said, you had 2 years of your life taken away. But the pro wrestling stuff, I know you're doing a lot of that. Is that sort of your main source of income right now, or what's sort of getting you through during the COVID time?
Yeah. Luckily, I mean, honestly, I thought that I would have fought by now. If things hadn't gone well, my career would probably be over now, but I was thinking that right now I'd still be in the midst of a fighting season and gearing up for, the end of the year playoffs. So I wasn't even expecting to be wrestling or doing any of that up to this point. But, luckily over the past few months, the shows have started to pick up once again. And, PFL has kind of allowed me to continue on with that. And it is my main source of income. I absolutely love it, and I cannot wait to get back to it after I'm done fighting. But here in the next few months, I'm once again going to have to put this on hold to start really gearing up for the PFL season. So, up until at least the end of this year, I'll be busting my ass in the ring, virtually on a full schedule for the next few months. I train every day in the gym that I'm here. So I'm really not worried about, missing out on skills or timing or stuff like that. It's just going to be about taking a little bit of time off from wrestling, taking time off from the travel, which is really the hard part of wrestling, and getting myself in absolute 100% recovered, absolute 100% best shape that I can be in for the start of that season.
Before we go, I got to talk about your T-shirt that you had on Instagram. I think it's Adventure Island is the Nintendo game. Who made that for you? That was so cool.
There's a company, Pro Wrestling Tees, that does
gotcha. They make Colby Covington's shirt too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's made to order, and there's a million different designers on there. And actually, the head of MLW, Major League Wrestling, Court Bauer, is the one who had it designed. So that was pretty much all of him, Obviously, Fight Island was the big hit of the summer to MMA fans. So, he had that shirt made, trying to build off of that idea. So,
are you a big retro gamer? Did you used to play the Nintendo games growing up and everything?
I did, but I was more of Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn. I had a modded Sega Dreamcast.
Oh, nice.
So I was playing
Crazy Taxi, probably on Dreamcast, right?
Crazy Taxi for sure. A lot of Virtua Cop.
Yeah, I forgot about that game. That was a good one.
I love Virtua Cop 1 and 2. And then I had a modded PlayStation 2, and I would have Japanese wrestling games on there. I also had a game, I think it was called Victorious Boxers, which was a Japanese RPG boxing game.
Mm-hmm.
I never went as far as to get Winning 7 or whatever the horse racing game was, but that one was just too nerdy for me.
Underrated system, man. Seriously, Dreamcast had some pretty good games. It's too bad they just never advanced, because the graphics were good, and they just never they had a UFC game on there too.
Yeah. The thing I play the most now is Leisure Suit Larry, though. So.
Okay, nice. There you go. That's a good one. Actually, I just watched something. They have a thing on Netflix called High Score. I don't know if you've seen it, but they just the history of video games, and they talked about that game Night Trap for the Sega CD that had to go to court because it was so brutal. It was basically you were in this storybook game, and you had to murder or avoid getting murdered. I think that's what it was. So
sounds like fun.
It's very fun, but not as fun as this interview, Tom. Thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout outs or anything like that, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on OnlyFans. That's probably the best one. But otherwise, it's on Twitter and Instagram at Filthy Tom Lawlor. It's LAWLOR. I'm not related to Robbie Lawler. No matter how many times people ask, I should just say yes, but it's Filthy Tom Lawlor, LAWLOR, Instagram, Twitter, and that's it.